Hello, and welcome to this shit. So the time I almost got arrested. This happened in my final year of high school, and it's something that I'll probably never forget, considering the really weird way that it ended. Just to preface, I'd already moved out of my parents' place like over here before this happened, and you'll understand why I say that in a bit. So this story begins with a depressed teenage boy looking for an escape from the real world. Music and alcohol just didn't seem to cut it anymore. And then I found the answer: marijuana. Something that, considering my past experiences, is really surprising that I had not done before. So I asked a mate of mine to help me acquire the goodies, and I went all out on this. I don't remember exactly how many bankies I bought, but I remember it was nearly enough to fill a fanny pack. Don't ask. So along came Friday, and my mate and I drive to my place. Nothing unusual here. We lived close by and often got a lift from me and hung out after school. I drive up to the house and see my mum standing next to the driveway. Again, nothing too unusual, as her business was on the same plot of land and she would of course be there sometimes. I get out of my car and go greet my mum, when she utters the words that sent shivers down my spine. The police were here, searched your room and found something in your closet. Now let's take a look at some of the mistakes I made and how much worse it made the situation. I never took the weed out of the bankie, so there were about 50 neatly stacked packs in my closet. Yeah, that does not look good for my defense. Another thing is that I had also recently sold my bike and had about 8 grand in cash, paper clipped into packs of 1 grand each. I think you can see how bad this looks. I mean, how in the hell would I be able to talk myself out of this situation? I was a high school kid. There is no reasonable explanation for me to have that in my closet, other than being a dealer. Now back to the story. I knew that I'd fucked up big time, and I had to own up to it. I asked my mom what happened, and apparently this is what went down. The police got a tip-off and came to search my place. They found the weed and the cash and naturally presumed that I was a dealer. They then spoke to my mom about the situation and asked if she thought I was dealing. She said that she didn't believe I was a dealer, and I guess they kind of took her word for it. This is kind of weird. They confiscated the weed and gave the money to my mom. And the most bizarre thing is, nothing ever happened. There was no follow-up, they never came to question me, nothing. Although my dad and my brother were kind of pissed off. But D.Kay, you said you almost got arrested. That doesn't sound like you almost got arrested. Well, that's the thing. If I were there, I would have gotten arrested. I mean, there's no question about that. And my mate and I had actually been planning to ditch school that day. But for some reason we decided to stay on that very day. Something we wouldn't normally do. So the only reason I didn't get arrested is because I actually stayed in school that day. So yeah, school literally kept me out of prison. How about that? The only thing that had always bothered me about this event is the fact that the police got tipped off. And the only people who knew about it were the people who were supposed to be my friends. And I never did find out who it was. I mean, I wouldn't do anything to the person who did it. I would just like to know who it was, you know? Marijuana has since been legalized here, but if this hadn't ended the way it did, I could have found myself in some really big trouble. Because even though I was still a student, I was definitely old enough to end up in prison. This was a major warning for me, and I realized that I could have ruined my life before it even had begun. I had to change, I had to be responsible. So I bought more weed and kept it elsewhere.